Welcome to our channel. Today we will learn about the life of Veronica Lake, a famous actress from the 1940s. Veronica's story is one of the most tragic in Hollywood's turbulent history. She became an icon with her striking blonde hair, styled to cover one eye, and her cold, seductive persona. However, behind her calm exterior, Veronica struggled with intense emotions, and her life ended abruptly and painfully. Like many other Hollywood actresses, she came from a humble background. Born Constance Frances Marie Ockelman in 1922 in Brooklyn, New York, her early years were far removed from the glamour of the movie world. Her father, Harry Eugene Ockelman, worked for an oil company, and her mother, Constance Frances Charlotta, was a working woman. When Veronica was 10 years old, her life changed dramatically. Her father died in a tanker explosion in Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania, in 1932. Her mother then remarried and moved Veronica to different schools, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy. But things were never the same again. This loss may have caused Constance to try to realize her dreams through her daughter in a disturbing way. Although Veronica was reluctant, her mother pressured her to act, putting a significant strain on their relationship. Constance even moved the entire family to Beverly Hills when Veronica was 16, hoping to make her daughter a star. The women were in for a surprise. In 1940, Veronica Lake received a life-changing opportunity. Producer Arthur Hornblow Jr. was looking for a nightclub singer for his upcoming film, I Wanted Wings, which starred William Holden. After seeing Veronica's audition, Hornblow immediately recognized her talent and offered her the lead role. Although Veronica was still a teenager when I Wanted Wings was released, she quickly became a huge star, capturing the attention of audiences everywhere. One review described her as charming and mischievous, with a seductive voice and beautiful hair. The excitement surrounding her was so intense that she was hailed as the discovery of 1941 even before the film was released. However, her growing fan base was unaware of the problems behind the scenes. Veronica was often unreliable and difficult to work with on the set of I Wanted Wings. She frequently arrived late, prompting director Mitchell Leisen to ask her to stay on set all day to ensure he knew where she was. Veronica Lake was already known for her strong personality, but her fame skyrocketed with her role in I Wanted Wings. During filming, her hair kept falling into her eyes, creating a signature look. Although Veronica worried that this would jeopardize her performance, her producer, Arthur Hornblow, recognized her unique appeal and encouraged her to pursue the hairstyle. This moment made her a phenomenon. Men were captivated by her, and women admired her hairstyle. The furtive look in I Wanted Wings quickly became a trend and remains a symbol of mysterious elegance today, as seen in characters like Jessica Rabbit. At the height of her success, Veronica was distracted by her personal life. In 1940, she fell in love with art director John Stuart Detley, who was 14 years her senior and already well established in Hollywood. Despite the age difference and the fleeting nature of their romance, Veronica married him shortly after they met. The rapid progression of their relationship soon took its toll on her. After the success of I Wanted Wings, Veronica Lake's studio cast her in Sullivan's Travels, co-starring Joel McCrea and directed by the acclaimed romantic comedy director Preston Sturges. Veronica had become a recognized star, and expectations for the film were high. However, on her first day on set, Sturges was surprised to discover that Veronica had been keeping a major secret. She was 6 months pregnant with John Stuart Detley's child. She may have feared being fired, but the way things turned out made her regret her dishonesty. Upon seeing Veronica's pregnancy, Sturges quickly went from shock to intense anger. He was so angry that crew members had to restrain him to prevent him from confronting her. Sturges eventually had to use a stunt double and strategic costumes to hide Veronica's condition. Despite her efforts, Veronica's behavior on set remained problematic, prompting co-star Joel McCrea to declare that he would never work with her again, remarking, "It's too short for 2 movies with Veronica Lake." Behind the glamorous exterior, a darker reality was unfolding for Veronica. During this time, she began drinking heavily, partly to cope with the pressures of Hollywood, and partly because she enjoyed the nightlife. However, the nightlife did not reciprocate her feelings. She often arrived early to filming looking disheveled and drunk. Alcohol was not her only problem. Despite being in a serious marriage and having children, she did not spend all her time at home. Instead, she enjoyed her celebrity status and entered into relationships with notable figures such as Howard Hughes, Aristotle Onassis, and Marlon Brando. However, there was one famous man who was perfect for her, even though he was not her lover. Hollywood could be harsh on even the sweetest young stars. As word spread about Veronica Lake's difficult personality, cast and crew members began to turn against her. Eddie Bracken, who had only had a brief interaction with Lake while working together on the 1942 film Star-Spangled Rhythm, did not hold back in sharing his harsh opinion of her. He remarked, "She used to be called he, and she deserved it." Unfortunately, in the following months, Veronica experienced events that silenced even her harshest critics. In July 1943, after giving birth to her daughter Elaine, Veronica became pregnant with her second child, but tragedy struck unexpectedly. While on set, Veronica tripped over an electrical wire and went into premature labor, resulting in the birth of a weak baby boy named Anthony, who was too weak to survive. Anthony lived for only about a week before passing away. The loss had a profound impact on both Veronica and her husband, John Stewart Detley, and their marriage eventually could not bear the pain. They separated in the same summer as their son died and were divorced before the year was out. Struggling to cope with her loss and lacking effective coping strategies, Veronica quickly began making poor choices. Just months after losing her child and experiencing the breakdown of her marriage, she remarried, this time to film director André de Toth. They had 2 children together, a son named Michael and a daughter named Diana. However, contrary to Veronica's hopes of finding happiness, her life was thrown into chaos. She began to lose her appeal, and starting in 1944, she appeared in a series of unsuccessful films. Her role as the unlikable Dora Brookman in The Hour Before Dawn was particularly notorious, as audiences laughed at her terrible German accent. Additionally, her appearance at a war bond event in Boston that year was poorly received, with one critic noting that her speech had a terrible tone. After a long period of decline, Veronica Lake found herself at her lowest point, and when help finally arrived, it had both positive and negative consequences. In 1946, Veronica Lake tried her hand at acting again in the black and white classic, The Blue Dahlia. Initially, the film seemed promising because it featured the first original script by the famous detective writer Raymond Chandler, one of the few people with whom she collaborated. Unfortunately, the production atmosphere was quite difficult. Soon after arriving on set, Veronica made a powerful enemy in Chandler. Despite struggling with severe alcoholism and not having completed the script when filming began, Chandler was highly respected in Hollywood. However, Veronica did not share this sentiment. Unfamiliar with Chandler's work, she decided to research him but took an unconventional approach. Instead of reading his novels, she listened to the film's publicity director to gather information to discuss with the press. This tactic did not sit well with the hot-tempered Chandler, leading to conflict between them. If Chandler had been more critical of Veronica's performance, perhaps his pre-production concerns might have been alleviated. Instead, the opposite happened. Like some of Veronica's previous co-stars, Chandler found her acting lacking. In fact, he believed everything about her was deficient, and he was outspoken in his criticism. "She's only good at being quiet and mysterious," Chandler remarked to a friend during filming. "There were 3 close-ups of her looking so sad that I wanted to throw my lunch over the fence." Although The Blue Dahlia was a box office success, the production challenges and the conflict between Veronica and Chandler have overshadowed her career to this day. The situation even led to one of the harshest insults directed at Veronica Lake after the film. Chandler called her Veronica Lake. However, Veronica would soon face much more serious problems than just a name. In 1952, Veronica's life took a sharp turn for the worse. After suffering several setbacks, she ran out of money, and the Internal Revenue Service seized her family home for unpaid taxes. While this would have been a devastating situation for anyone, it pushed Veronica over the edge. She suffered a major nervous breakdown and completely abandoned her marriage. Using her pilot's license, she boarded a family plane, leaving her husband and children behind, and flew alone from Los Angeles to New York. She declared that she was done with Hollywood and was desperate to escape its harsh criticism. This was the beginning of a series of increasingly bizarre actions. Veronica eventually faded into obscurity until a New York Post reporter tracked her down in 1962, and what they discovered was horrifying. Although the reporters knew that Veronica Lake wanted to stay away from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, what they discovered was quite surprising. The reporters found that Veronica was working as a bartender at the Martha Washington Hotel in Manhattan. This revelation sparked renewed interest in Veronica, prompting fans to send her money. One person who knew about her situation was her former lover, Marlon Brando. Upon hearing the news, he arranged for a check for $1,000 to be sent to her. Although she did not cash it, she kept it as a reminder of her past success. She even framed the check in her home to show to friends, creating a heartwarming story for her fans. However, despite this uplifting moment, her life was still in turmoil. After being found in a cocktail bar, Veronica felt drawn back to Hollywood. She eventually succumbed to this feeling, and within a few years, she returned to the entertainment industry, taking on roles in television and film, and publishing her autobiography, The Autobiography of Veronica Lake. The only thing missing was the beauty that was revered in the image-conscious world of Hollywood, and Veronica Lake was no longer considered beautiful. Years of alcohol abuse had left her looking gaunt and much older than her mid-40s. A reporter who met her during this time bluntly remarked that she looked like a maid. While Veronica's autobiography expressed regret for not spending enough time with her children, her comments in person revealed a darker reality. By the end of her life, she seemed unable to trust anyone, not even her own family. Veronica was deeply hurt and traumatized, and tragically, her death brought no relief. In June 1973, she was promoting her autobiography across the United States. While in Vermont, she began to suffer from severe abdominal pain and had to interrupt her tour to see a local doctor. After an examination, the doctors delivered devastating news. After years of heavy drinking, Veronica Lake had developed terminal cirrhosis of the liver and had only weeks to live. Veronica's life was marked by a struggle for recognition and self-esteem. In early July 1973, as expected, she died of acute hepatitis. Despite her talent, Veronica often doubted her abilities. Veronica Lake was one of Hollywood's most troubled stars, and her mother later revealed a heartbreaking reason for this. She disclosed that Lake had been diagnosed with schizophrenia as a child, which explained her irritability, mood swings, and sometimes irrational decisions. Additionally, many believe that Veronica's heavy drinking was a way to cope with her condition, helping her escape not only from Hollywood and her deep insecurities, but also from the turmoil in her mind. We hope you enjoyed as we explore the life of Veronica Lake. That's all for this episode. Thanks for joining us.